Hey guys, Zane here, and today I'm going to be talking about the 1.4 content update stream we got. Now, there's a lot to unpack here, so if you have one issue in particular you want to see, go to the description. I'm going to leave you guys some timestamps. I'm so nice, I know. And secondly, this took a good bit of time to put together. So if you wouldn't mind, leaving a like, subscribing, all that junk that you got to do, that would be great. But without further ado, let's get into it. First thing we're going to be talking about is the Mondstadt Windbloom Festival, also known as the Festival of Love and Freedom. Now, this festival is going to operate on a currency system of sorts called windblooms. What is a windbloom, you might say? Never heard of it. Well, a windbloom doesn't really have a concrete definition. In fact, we're actually going to be able to choose from 6 flowers which one we think is the windbloom, like which one makes more sense. Or at least that's how it's marketed. But if you're like me, and for every week when you need to collect 100 Mondstadt materials, you just collect wolf hooks because they're easy, and now we're maxed out on wolf hooks, then, when they say, hey, what flower do you think should work? Then, if wolf hooks get brought up, then, maybe you pick that one. Not saying I want to get rid of my 1,000 wolf hooks, but I would prefer to not have 1,000 wolf hooks. So, where are you going to be spending these flowers, your windbloom, whatever you choose that to be? You're going to be spending them mostly on festive antidotes. What are these? Well, you remember how back in the Lantern Rite Festival, we kind of gave lanterns away in quests? This is exactly the same thing. Now, there's only 12 of them. There's not like 20 plus like in the last event. And hopefully they're more involved than just the mindless fetch quests we had and then giving people lanterns. But there's only 12. They're divided into 4 different acts, and it doesn't seem to be a huge part of the event. The big 2 parts of the event are the Festive Challenges and the Peculiar Wonderland. We'll start off with Festive Challenges because it's a lot simpler to understand. These are, for all intents and purposes, minigames. Now, there's 3 of them that we know of right now. There's Bullseye Balloons, which is basically at a carnival, throwing darts. It's like that, except video game form. So the balloons have faces, and they blow up, and you can throw them at kittens if you're really, really feeling like evil. Balloon kittens, of course, but hey. It sounds more menacing when you can just say you can throw darts at normal kittens. Now, these balloons, or kitten balloons in some cases, have unique effects. Like I said, you can blow up. You can also increase your points greatly, or if you're a monster and throw it at the kittens, you lose points. There's also Floral Freefall, the second event. This is a gliding minigame where you're going to collect flowers that are in the sky as you free fall. It's a very self-explanatory name. The faster time you have getting to the bottom and getting the flowers, the better. Last, but certainly not least, Ballads of Breeze. It's like a rhythm game. You press circles at the right time and you play a tune. It's very simple. But when the event ends, you're going to be given a decorative balloon and a lyre. The balloon's pretty simple. I don't particularly care about that. But the lyre is going to be similar to the event minigame, which is why I'm including it right now, Ballads of Breeze. However, you're going to be able to play whatever tune you want on it. Which means, if you want to play Mariah Carey's Fireworks on your lyre that you got given, you can do that. You can put original music or parody it in Genshin with this lyre. You can see kind of the menu on screen right now, how that's going to work. But hopefully, if they do this right, it is going to be a really cool feature when we'll see a lot of fan creations, and not just a, why do they even do this kind of feature? Now, I would very much suggest that you do whatever it takes to get the decorative balloon and a lyre, even if you don't personally plan on using it, simply because, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line, that is going to be a very, very hot item that you're probably not going to be able to get anymore. Think of it as a collectible, if you will. Now, the third part of this event is called the Peculiar Wonderland. Now, what is that? It's complicated, but to dumb it down as much as I can, you are going to be going to a boss battle, but before that battle, you have 3 random minigames that you are going to complete, and if you do them properly, you are going to get a variety of buffs. Once you do it, you go into the boss, and you fight it, and hopefully beat it for rewards. Now, those 3 minigames I mentioned before is going to be randomized Mario Party style, where there's a ton of them, and you'll get 3 of them. Now, you are able to co-op this, so if you and a friend want to do it together, you're welcome to do that. But we've seen at least 8 total minigames that they kind of showed in their live stream, but there could be more, or it could just be there. Either way, all of these minigames seem pretty interesting, so I'm excited for them, and it's going to give a lot of replayability, which is something that Genshin sorely lacks at the moment. So hopefully this is something that doesn't turn into a boring kind of waiting, just, gotta go back there and crying for my tickets for the 50 millionth time. It's like, ooh, I wonder what this event is. And then, what is this one? So on and so forth. I'm rambling. Now, last but not least for the festival, we have the rewards, arguably the most important part. Now, there's several things of note here. We already talked about the lyre, and we talked about the balloon. However, there's also going to be a grand total of 1,000 Primogems for this entire event. Now, that's a lot. That's a good bit. So make sure you're kind of completing all the event rewards and getting those, especially if you plan on rolling for Child or Venti or anything else that's coming out in this patch. The final thing, besides for the normal, like level up materials, ascension materials, we're going to be getting a 4-star bow called the Windbloom Ode. Now this bow, we are able to refine it up to max rank if we complete the event all the way through. And if this is a bow, even if you don't necessarily plan on using it at the moment, I would at least get it and refine it. So if later down the line you're like, oh, this is perfect for this new bow character, you have it set up. Doesn't mean you have to get it to level 90, but at least get all the refinements, because they're not going to be available. Now, let's move on from the Windbloom Festival, shall we? And let's talk about the banners. The 2 banners for this patch are Venti and Child, as I previously mentioned. Rosaria is going to be in Child's banner. Venti's first and Child after him. There's not just those 2 banners, though. The weapons banner is getting completely revamped. We're getting 3 new 4-star weapons and a new 5-star bow that is presumably going to be used by Child or Venti. We don't know the stats of these bows, or even who else is going to be on the banners for Venti or Child, but this is what we do know. You can see the screenshot on screen. I mean, where else would I put a screenshot? That covers it. And yeah, that is going to be all we know for now for the banners. But we're going to find out more in the coming days, presumably through leaks and whatnot. We'll find out who's on whose banner. So yeah, let's move on to the new character quests. There's going to be new quests for Bennett, Chongyun, Noelle, and Barbara. Now these aren't going to be like our normal quests. In fact, there's actually going to be multiple routes you can go down. We've seen in the one they've shown 5 routes that you can go down and get 5 unique endings. Or if you're bad and say something wrong, they'll just straight up run away and you fail. But hopefully, for everyone's sake, that doesn't happen to you, unless, I don't know, you hate Noelle and wanted to run. But yeah, each time you finish a branch, you're going to get a small unique reward and a picture called a Hangout Memory that's going to act as sort of a collectible. More characters will get quests like this as the game progresses, and I actually really appreciate this new style of quest. From what we've seen, it's more dialogue driven, to help us get to know the characters better, instead of like, oh, we need to invent a reason for this character to fight, so you can get a preview for them, and then just completely ignore everything else. And like I said, they're going to be releasing more characters like this. Personally, I'm hoping that they give some quests like this for Kaching, or any other characters, 4-star or 5-star, that haven't gotten quests yet. Although I'd be lying if I didn't say I'd also really like one for Venti. But yeah, that's all we know about these events for now. Let's move on, shall we? Let's talk about the KFC crossover. Now, this crossover appears to be a marvelous merchandise type of event that's going to be themed around gathering/cooking food. And I gotta say, I know this isn't like technically like, presenting you the information, but Noelle looks absolutely adorable in that little French hat outfit. It's amazing. We don't know if that's going to be an outfit you can get. In fact, I quite doubt it, personally, both the Noelle and the D-Luke one. But it's a fun little crossover event, and if I had to guess, we're going to get some new food recipes out of it. That's all we know about that, so let's move on to Rosaria. And now I say move on to her, but I've actually already covered all the Rosaria leaks. Crazy, I know. So be sure to check that video out. I'm going to link it in the description, and there's also a card in the top right. But let's move on. Next up is Dainsleif and the Abyss Herald. Now, I've grouped these two together because it appears they're going to be in the same sort of quest line. This is actually a world quest. We haven't gotten one of those in a while. And how it's going to work basically is it's going to be a lore quest more than anything. Most things with Dainsleif seem to be like that, more lore-based. However, we are going to be fighting a all-new monster called the Abyss Herald, like I said in the title. Very fancy. I've noticed his abilities look an awful lot like Child's abilities, which makes me think that the Child banner is more than a coincidence in that regard, and we're probably going to learn a bit more. This is not a speculation video, so I'll stop it for now, but look out for a lore video for me that might potentially be covering that. Back to the quest, of course, it's going to be with Dainsleif. The boss is not, as some people suspected, going to be a weekly boss. It's going to be a one-time thing. However, they very much hinted that later down the line, this might become some sort of repeatable weekly boss like Dvalin or something. Moving on to the next event, Wishful drops. Basically, how this event is going to play out is the Oceanid that we know and hate gets angry and turns all of the water near it pretty bitter. Now, this is going to seriously mess up all the industries and lives of people, but specifically the wine industry, who is based pretty close to the Oceanid, is mad about this. Now, lots of these little Oceanid creatures appear. The ones we fight, actually, in the battle itself is what appears to be appearing for now, although I wouldn't be opposed to getting some cool new creatures as well. And this is absolutely adorable, we adopt a little mini Oceanid who's going to run around with us. Think like the Lost Treasure event where we had the little Sealies with us. We're going to get a little Oceanid who's going to help us capture them, capture all the like escaped creatures, and hopefully fix the problem. Now, as we capture creatures, we get rewards in the form of a currency called Hearts of the Spring, and it's going to evolve our little pet. Now, this event also features a boss battle against the very angry Oceanid, which requires those hearts we got, but it's going to give you increased rewards. The hearts can be bought with resin if you want to fight it more than 5 times to get the rewards. And the fight actually allows us to hit the Oceanid because MiHoYo loves us. Last but not least, we're going to be able to keep our mini pet when the event ends. So, if the Sealie's not to your liking, how about a mini Oceanid instead? Moving on to the kind of final event that's going to be covered, the Battle Arena. Every day, new challenges are added, with 3 difficulties in the Meaty Arena. Yes, that's its real name. Now, each difficulty is going to have 3 challenges that you need to clear for it to be a victory. It appears that each challenge will have a theme that gives you character buffs built around it. We know a few already, and the rest are going to be revealed in time. The one that they gave us was low electrolytes, and how that works is basically electrocharged reactions do more, and characters unleash shockwaves when they trigger electrocharged abilities. Presumably, all of our buffs from the events are going to be roughly like that. We know Art of the Cannonball is going to give us some sort of wind boost, so we can use slam attacks. But other than that, it's probably just going to be think the event a while back where we fought against all of the elemental constructs, and we put on modifiers for different points. It's going to be structured a lot like that. You know, it's going to come out once per day. We're going to have different difficulties we can customize, and we're going to get rewards. This is by far the simplest event out of the 3, and if I had to guess, they're going to kind of lump it somewhere in the middle, transitioning between 2 big events. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be bad. I mean, it looks like it gives 60 primos per day, as we can see in the screenshot, and a few other things. So not bad at all, but not anything special. Now, finally, and in my opinion, one of the biggest things, is they released several quality of life optimizations. The first one, our condensed resin storage is now 5 instead of 3. Which is very nice if, say, you can't really play for a day, but you don't want to waste your resin, not your resin. So you log in, cash it in, and then move on. The second one is, even once you've perfected a recipe and you can cook it automatically, you're also able to cook it manually. I don't quite understand the reasoning behind this as much as the others, but it's still a nice little feature. Number 3, and this one is huge. You don't need to change the character to get bonuses anymore. So, as some of you may know, when you're cooking or crafting or foraging, certain characters give you buffs. Like for example, let's say you're making potions, right? If you switch to Lisa in that potions, in the top right, you can choose what character you want to craft it. Lisa will give you a crafting bonus. Once you've used Lisa once for that, it will remember that you like using Lisa to make your potions, and you will never have to set Lisa again. You don't have to put her in the first slot of your party, you don't have to manually change it, nothing. Lisa will just automatically be assigned to be your potion bitch, which is amazing because, as some of us can attest, we've made really big orders of I don't know, potions, whatever you're making, and forgotten to put the character, which loses you a lot of efficiency. Moving on to number 4, though. At world level 5 and above, you are able to drop your world level down by 1 for 24 hours. Now, this is really interesting. This is both going to allow you to co-op with friends who may be like 1 world level below you, but you still want to like have them come to your world. But this is also going to allow you to, if you, let's say you go to the next world level and find out that it's way too hard for you, you're able to drop your world level by 1 and kind of go back to your world before it was upgraded. However, your rewards that you get are still going to be like you're in whatever world level you change to. So if you're world level 6 and you drop down to world level 5, you're going to get like the 5th level rewards, not the 6th level. Overall, this is really interesting. Personally, I don't have too much of a use for this because what are friends? But I can see this being really useful for a lot of people. Now, number 5, the only one that made me go, what? I don't fully understand. But you're going to be able to display multiple name cards on your profile. So if you think about how you can kind of display your characters, so you can flex how many 5 stars you've gotten in your display, you can now display your name cards, which is basically like the background you get for your nameplate. So like, you know, when you get someone a friendship 10, you can get a name card. Those things. This one's kind of weird, and I don't really see the use for it. But hey, for collectors, if you want to show off, go ahead. Finally, number 6, the amazing thing we've all been wanting forever. You can now choose to leave the abyss when you finish a stage and choose to move on instead of leave for now in the character screen. So what does that mean? When you are in the final stage, let's say you just beat 11-3, right? You press move on, and now you have to choose your 8 new characters. If you get there and you're like, wait a second, I need to leave. Like, I don't want to do this. You can't do that. You have to put in your characters, you have to go in there, and then you leave. Now you can just straight up exit. Now you might be saying, Zane, no one really cared about that. And I would say, you're right, but I'm not done talking. Be quiet, child. You can also retry instead of leaving and coming back in the Spiral Abyss. I know, I said it. It's amazing. What does this mean? Let's say you are doing, I don't know, 11.11-2, right? And you notice that your pylon takes 60% damage. Once you get done crying, you can retry. You just press escape, and instead of having to leave and come back, you can just press retry, and boom, you're back. Take 10,000, 20,000, whatever you're on these days. But it's going to save a lot of time, is what I'm trying to say. Now, that's all that we know for patch 1.4, and I really appreciate MiHoYo putting this out. This is a lot of information, and although it did take me a good while to compile all this, I'm really glad we have a sort of roadmap, and I cannot wait to cover the same thing for 1.5, 1.6, and so on. But if you want to see me cover those, make sure to, like I said at the start, like, subscribe, all that junk, press the bell, you know, give me your mother's maiden name, all the good, great things. But without further ado, I won't keep you guys. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.